Hola, hermanos. It is Mongo Slade, 3 count commentaries on the air. We got a lot to get through on this show. Summerslam predictions, Vince versus the Feds, the rematch of the century. So we're going to start there. We're going to start with Vince versus the Feds again. The Feds about to try it again. He's under investigation. We're not sure I think we're pretty sure what the investigation is all about. But it's been going on for a while before anybody knew about it. Crazy how all the wrestling media didn't know anything about Vince's house being looked into and the subpoenas and all this kind of stuff. Funny how we didn't know anything about that. We supposed to believe that Vince was giving people nicknames. Meanwhile, the federal government all up his ass. How weird is that? So we're going to get into that. And then we're going to do our SummerSlam predictions, which included you guys. You guys also predicted some stuff for SummerSlam. So we're going to talk about that as well. And we're probably going to have some kind of fun tonight. We're only going to do 2 articles on the Vince McMahon thing. I think we get a good idea. We're going to look at what actually happened. And then we're going to get his response, WWE's response, and etc. Of course, whenever new news comes out towards Vince, people want to go to, he should be in jail. I say, well, we'll see whether he goes to jail or not. We'll see. But it depends on what they're looking for. Once they have a subpoena, they can pretty much, they can only look for certain things anyway, And he's probably going to have to come and give some kind of testimony in front of a grand jury or something like that. But we'll see how that goes. So, hello, everybody, once more. We're 2 minutes in. Let's get started. From CNBC, WWE boss Vince McMahon hit with federal grand jury subpoena and search warrant, company reveals. So the company revealed this. Not any wrestling media revealed this. They're all jumped on it. This is from Dan Mangan, CNBC. He says these are the 3 key points. Federal law enforcement agents executed a search warrant on WWE boss Vince McMahon and served him with a federal grand jury subpoena last month, WWE disclosed. The second, the actions represented escalation in an ongoing investigation into allegations that Mr. McMahon had paid millions of dollars over the years to women after being accused of sexual misconduct. And the third is WWE also revealed that McMahon, quote, went on medical leave after undergoing major spinal surgery, which is should not have been a surprise that a man who is almost 80 is not going to be around after he just had major surgery. So here is the news. It says McMahon's leave began on July 21st and will, quote, remain on medical leave until further notice, but will remain executive chairman of WWE. The company said in its quarterly report to the SEC. Reached for comment Wednesday, the company said it believes the subpoena and search warrant are, quote, a continuation of the investigation that commenced last summer. WWE has cooperated throughout and fully understands and respects the government's need for a complete process. McMahon in a statement said, quote, I have always denied any intentional wrongdoing and continue to do so. I am confident that the government's investigation will be resolved without any findings of wrongdoing. Now, before we continue, here's some interesting wording. Intentional wrongdoing. Intentional wrongdoing. Now, what he probably means by this, if I'm the Vince whisperer, I believe he thinks that by paying the women with his own money, he was not using the company funds. He did not view that as benefiting the company. So even if the government says this was wrong, this was illegal, which I think the company has said, then he's saying, well, it was unintentional. I paid them with my own money, didn't really think about it in terms of this is going to benefit the company in some way. So I'm guessing that's what he means by intentional wrongdoing. And that's really the only intentional wrongdoing that they could probably prove is him paying uh, women money out of some kind of pot. So it continues. They talk about the merger a little bit. It says the search warrant and subpoena on July 17th came a year after news first broke that the federal prosecutors and the SEC were investigating WWE McMahon over his payments to women. So it took them a year to execute a search warrant and a subpoena. I wonder what took so long. This was a high profile case. I wonder what took so long. And there's a picture of Vince with Donald Trump. Oh, well, I wonder what took so long. WWE noted in its SEC filing Wednesday that, quote, has received voluntary and compulsory legal demands for documents, including from federal law enforcement and regulatory agencies concerning the investigation and related subject matters. Interesting. So this is going to be, just be prepared that if Vixen Span lives for another 15 years, this stuff is going to get hit with a FOIA request, and it's going to be filled with him taking things out of context that have nothing to do with the context of the investigation. Vince eats, Cocoa Puffs for breakfast, and I found this out in this thing. So, of course, they talk about Linda McMahon and her ties to Donald Trump, and Vince's also his ties to Donald Trump, which we don't care about. So it says that WWE on Wednesday said that during the 3 and 6 months ended June 30th, quote, the company incurred $5.3 million and $7.1 million, respectively, of expenses related to costs incurred in connection with a separate investigation by a special committee created by the company's board. McMahon has agreed to reimburse WWE, quote, all reasonable costs incurred in connection with the company's special committee work. To this date, Mr. McMahon has paid approximately $17.4 million to reimburse the company for costs that have been incurred and paid by the company, the filing said. It is not clear how much more money McMahon will have to reimburse WWE beyond that point. Quote, as previously disclosed, the special committee investigation was completed during the fourth quarter of 2022. However, related government investigations remain ongoing, the company said. So the government's just going to keep looking until they find something, which they always do. Once they get they really kind of get their nose onto something, they never really let it go. So we won't know probably for who knows how long this is going to be going on. Now, for the record, a grand jury is just about whether, I'm guessing this is in New York. They didn't say. They weren't specific, but I'm guessing this is in New York. But a grand jury, what they decide is whether there's enough evidence to bring a charge or not. Of course, one of the opening statements that came out when I first saw this is that there were no charges filed. But they don't have to file charges immediately. They're going to probably go through some documents and things like that, looking for something to charge him with. Embezzlement might be one thing. Things like that they might be looking for. And we'll see what happens when that comes out. Prince Ali, how you doing? Vince McMahon is seriously the Lex Luthor of wrestling. You can never keep a good villain down. Not at all, man. Vince keeps finding new ways of getting in trouble. He just keeps he keeps finding new ways of getting away with stuff. We'll see if his time's run out. AJ3, how you doing, brother? Trump pled not guilty. Can Vince beat this too? I don't know if he can beat it because I don't know what the evidence would be against him, and I also don't know fully the legal questions that these people will be asking. Like, what's the legal mumbo jumbo that he's going to be, quote, in trouble for? Is it flat out illegal for him to use his own money to pay for women to go away or whatever, hush money or whatever the case may be? So that's an interesting thing. JS, how you doing, fam? Says, I have no idea what's going on, which is normal. Every now and again, I come from work and I'm surprised at how much I miss. Well, Vince has been his I'm pretty sure it's his office and his house have been raided by the federal government, but it's been a year. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things that he could have taken care of in a year. You know, if he wanted to get rid of some documents or get rid of some stuff, he probably could have if he wanted to in a year. He had plenty of time. Top Dog said, "What's up, everyone? It's the 90s again. Vince versus the Feds. It's the rematch of the century. It's the Vince versus the Feds 2 Electric Boogaloo." All right, so this is from Deadline. WWE's Vince McMahon confident probe by Feds will be resolved, quote, without any findings of wrongdoing. It says, updated with statements from 10:30 a.m. In dual statements released later today, or earlier in the day, Vince McMahon said he is confident that the government's investigation will not find wrongdoing. WWE said it fully understands and respects the government's need for a complete process. McMahon's statement, quote, in 2022, WWE formed a special committee to review allegations of misconduct against me. That review was concluded in November 2022, following an extensive investigation. Throughout this experience, I have always denied any intentional wrongdoing and continue to do so. I am confident that the government's investigation will be resolved without any findings of wrongdoing. I am focused on completing the recovery process from my recent spinal surgery and on closing our transaction with Endeavor, which will create one of the most preeminent global sports and entertainment brands. Always Vince. He don't give a damn about this. He is really not taking it seriously. WWE's statement is, quote, we believe this is a continuation of the investigation that commenced last summer. We already read this. The government needs to have a complete process. Updated with the subpoena. 7:47 a.m. WWE said federal law enforcement agents executed a search warrant and served a federal grand jury subpoena on Executive Chairman Vince McMahon on July 17th. The company said no charges have been brought. The company itself has received voluntary and compulsory legal demands for documents from federal law enforcement agencies and regulatory agencies, quote, concerning the investigation of and related subject matters. They're probably just going to go on a fishing expedition, you know. During a call with investors, Khan said McMahon was on medical leave until further notice following spine surgery. Nick Khan, CEO, said, quote, we continue to fully cooperate with any investigation. Outside of that, we are not going to comment on any legal matter. Khan told investors on a conference call after the numbers that Vince McMahon, WWE's executive chairman, had major spinal surgery 2 weeks ago and is currently out on medical leave of absence until further notice. The longtime former CEO and majority shareholder who grew the company into a global powerhouse stepped back last year amid a probe over sexual misconduct and payouts to women, but retorted to the board in January. It says, quote, as previously disclosed, on June 17, 2022, a special committee of the board of directors was formed on June 15th to investigate allegations of misconduct by Vince McMahon. And as previously disclosed, the special committee's investigation was completed during the fourth quarter of 2022. However, related government investigations remain ongoing. So they then continue with the amount of money he paid back already. And then it says WWE set viewership records last quarter as revenue jumped 25%. And the company's planned merger with Endeavor's UFC, announced in April, remains on track to close in the second half of 2023. Media sales jumped more than 30% to $320 million. Revenue from live events surged 50% to $62 million. Nick Khan called the UFC deal historic, creating a one-of-a-kind global sports and entertainment company. The combination will create a new public entity, one of the few standalone public companies in sports and entertainment, run by CEO of Endeavor, Ari Emanuel. The new company, valued at $21 billion, will be a subsidiary of Endeavor, with 51% and the other 49% controlled by WWE. So we continue going through this. They talk about Raw and SmackDown and how good they're doing. And then also, I guess they asked Nick Khan about the writer strikes or whatever. Why would he care about that? I don't know why he would care about that. But they went into some more business stuff at the end. So I'm pretty sure, not to be a complete and total conspiracy theorist, I'm pretty sure this is Trump related. You know, this thing feels Trump related to me, dog. But the feds were not going to let Vince get away with this whole thing. You know, you can forget it. They were not going to let him completely walk away from this whole ordeal. Same time, though, I don't think that he would have come back into public if he believed that he was going to be found guilty of something, or that if they were going to find things. Now, I don't know for sure because Vince is kind of ballsy. You know, he can do very weird things sometimes. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if he thought, I'm bulletproof. It's not going to make me no mine. But it's it says a lot that Trump starts getting indicted for, reach. And now, they're kind of reaching when it comes to Vince too. But here's the weird thing. I'm seeing all of these, the federal investigations, yada yada yada, which is all well and good. That's true. But usually they would say what state, because federal could be anywhere. So you have to ask the question, like, what state is this supposed to be held in? But I'm guessing it's New York, because I'm looking at several different articles, and I don't see a state listed. It just says federal government, so it could be anywhere. There's federal buildings or federal investigators in every state. So it's like the people of Idaho. The federal government in Idaho after events. Like, who is it? It's got to be New York, right? So we shall see what goes on here. But Vince McMahon versus the federal government one more time. He's doing it this time without his most treasured friend who retired earlier this year, uh, because he don't want to argue with MLW for the next 5 years or whatever the hell. He stepped back. He didn't want nothing to do with this. So I'm looking to see if anybody has any other information, and I don't see anything. I think the two articles that we used essentially covers it. What's been going on with Vince? He had major spinal surgery 2 weeks ago, which is crazy. And at that point, nobody knew about his spinal surgery. Nobody knew about this whole thing. It just popped up out of nowhere. Oh, CNN is out of New York, so I'm guessing it's New York. Yeah, I'm gonna guess it was New York. I'm not seeing anything that's new information, so it doesn't matter that much. I've been looking at a lot of the various sites. I'm looking at the Hollywood Reporter right now. I'm not seeing anything new in these articles. It's basically just all saying the same thing, the comments that he made. I'm not seeing anything from, the federal government. They're not going to talk about this kind of thing, especially if they don't bring any charges. But for those of you who think that I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to the grand jury, let's take a look at what a grand jury does. Grand jury versus jury. A grand jury decides if someone should be charged, but a trial jury decides if someone is guilty. So there you go. The only thing is the grand jury the state, which I'm pretty sure is of New York, is going to collect some evidence, and then they're going to make the case that Vince McMahon should be charged with X, Y, and Z crime. Here's the thing about grand juries that most people don't understand is that there is things that are evidence in a grand jury that cannot be used in a trial. And therefore, the old adage of prosecutors being able to indict a ham sandwich, that's where that stuff comes from. Because quite often you can bring things up in investigations and use against people in investigations that you cannot use in court, because emotion might throw it out. It might be how the information was collected was improper or whatever the case may be. So Vince is going to have probably a nice little tussle on his hands. I'm sure he wishes his lawyer of choice was there. Stone Mexican guy said they could charge a ham sandwich. Of course they will. Of course they will. They can do whatever they want. So it's all about whether it's actually going to work out or not. But not having McDevitt around is real sad, isn't it? Not having McDevitt around to fight this fight for him is real bad. WG Phil says Vince got his handy neck bracelet from '94. He might be all right. I think he might have like a whole new get up now. He's in his 70s. I don't know if a neck brace might do it. He might. I'm telling you, if Vince McMahon goes to court, it's going to be like that scene in Casino where all the bosses are there with oxygen tanks. That's what it's going to be. Vince McMahon's going to be sitting in court with an oxygen tank on, breathing like Darth Vader. It's going to be absolutely hilarious. I don't know why people think that shit works. It doesn't. Nobody ever feels bad for you when you pop up to court after people saying you're doing horrible things to folks. And then you show up in a suit and people are like, oh, he's obviously innocent. He's wearing a suit. No, nobody believes that. Oh, he's such a kindly old man. He wouldn't do all of these horrible things. He's an old man. That's not going to work. So Vince can break out his trusty neck bracelet if he wants to. It ain't going to really work out. If people feel like he's guilty, he's going to get indicted. And to be quite honest, he probably going to get indicted anyway because he's friends with Trump. So we don't exactly live in the most upright society. And I'm not saying that Vince is innocent. I'm just saying that it's real convenient that Trump and everybody that he possibly knows, people he bumped into in the hallway, all of a sudden start getting indicted and arrested around the same time. Funny how that works out. Harvey Weinstein was in a stretcher chair. Oh my goodness. Stone Mexican guy said the United States is a third world government status. Instead of drug cartels, they got rainbow transformers and kid touchers running everything. That is absolutely true. They will absolutely turn a blind eye to like large scale child molestation and then chase down a guy for banging some chicks he probably shouldn't have banged. It'd have been one thing if one of these girls had gone to the law and said, hey, I got raped or I got molested or whatever. That'd have been a completely different ball game. The fact that she took some money and shut up, it's nobody's business at that point. It's like, okay, well, as long as she got paid, who cares? If she wanted them to go to jail, she should have went to the cops. And then, the ones, you had one was running around for 30 years saying she was raped, and she never once went to the cops. At least not to my knowledge. Did Rita Chatterton ever go to the police? I don't think so. But Vince is in a tough situation. Vince needs to spend some time with his grandchildren. I'm pretty sure that's everything he's doing now. He's gonna sit around and get as many pictures with his grandkids as he can. So when he needs character stuff, he can start, having Stephanie release all that crap via Instagram or whatever. Him dressed like Santa Claus and I wish Michael Douglas wasn't so old. He would be a perfect Vince McMahon in a movie. Gordon Gekko from Wall Street. If he was, if it was 40 years ago, Michael Douglas would have been an excellent Vince McMahon. Like he'd probably be a good Vince McMahon now because Vince is so old. But he would have been excellent as like a young Vince McMahon. Michael Douglas would have been great. I still think he could probably pull it off. So if they're gonna make that Vince movie. Michael Douglas, that's where I would go with it if he was willing to do it. Vince is going to be, he's going to stop being Zorro Vince, El Mariachi Vince. He'll get rid of that goddamn mustache, get that color out of his hair, and then all of a sudden he's going to be kindly old Grandpa Vince, probably going to grow a beard and, let kids play in it and all that kind of stuff. Probably start wearing Hawaiian shirts. Like he's a kindly old grandpa. He ain't doing nothing. He ain't embezzled millions of dollars. Of course he didn't. AJ3 says, are you all for the idea of just calling America not the United States of America train of conspiracy theorists? Look, this country is built on conspiracy theorists, man. I don't understand what the big deal is about people being upset about conspiracy theories. At worst, you believe something about people that is not true. So what? People believe stuff about folks that are not true literally all the time. Um, it's people who are, they believe their conspiracies are real. They think your conspiracies are the ones that are false. Just like your God is the one that's false and mine is the one that's real. It's the same garbage, People who are elitists, who are better than you. Oh, I listen to the mainstream media, so it's a conspiracy theorist because you got it from Red State or whatever. It's like, well, is it true or not? I don't care where it comes from. It's about whether it's true or not. When somebody is out there rambling about things that aren't true, then you can say, well, why would we listen to this idiot? It's not true. But if somebody says something that is true, who gives a goddamn what he looks like or what kind of background he has? Is it true or not? But I definitely believe that this got something to do with Trump. I'm almost willing to put money on it because there's a lot of people that have done far worse things than Vince, and the prosecutors were like, whoopsie, I don't see any problems. People who absolutely like rape folks and kill people, like legit. There's dead bodies. And then all of a sudden people are kind of like, whoopsie, there was no evidence. And then we move on. So we'll see if there's going to be some evidence or not. I don't know how long this is going to take, but this seems like it's going to be one of those things where it's going to dangle over Vince's head until he dies. And then everybody's going to be like, we had him, just like Jimmy Snuka. We had him, and then he died. We were going to prove it after 30 years, but then he died. I'm like, come on. You weren't about to prove a damn thing. Stop it. He wasn't about to prove nothing. He died. All right. So it's probably going to be the same thing here. Vince he's going to be under investigation, all these subpoenas, all this kind of stuff. It's probably going to dangle over his head forever because unless they file a charge against him and he is proven not guilty in court, they can continue to investigate these things. And people know that that's how the system works. So I said this, I don't want to derail this video talking about this right now, but I'm going to do it anyway. The situation with Gable Steveson. I actually talked about this in my Great American Bash review, but then I edited it out because I felt like it was going too far off the subject. But a lot of people were saying how Gable Steveson got away with a crime because of a loophole. And I said to them, that it doesn't work that way. Gable Steveson was not found not guilty. There is no double jeopardy. They can indict him if they wanted to. If somebody else wanted to bring charges against Gable Steveson, they could. The reason why the charges were dropped is because there was no evidence. That's why. It has nothing to do with that loophole. That was just an excuse that the prosecutor gave to make his decision. Because I'm pretty sure he's a prosecutor that is elected. And these elected officials, they have to come up with some kind of excuse to why they can't do what the people want them to do. And so he says, oh, it was this law, that says that if you're drunk, that doesn't mean anything, yada, yada, yada. It's like, okay, that didn't have anything to do with it. Because how do we know that there was alcohol even involved? We don't know. No evidence was ever brought that the alcohol was involved, that the guys got her drunk or anything. And then once they passed the law in Minnesota, they could have still brought the case. Again, there is no double jeopardy because he was never found not guilty. He never went to trial. So you could technically investigate that again if you wanted to. Just like Jimmy Snuka, for years they dropped the case because there was no evidence. But you could always bring the case back up because he was never found not guilty. There was never a trial. So these things do not end. It only ends when you're found not guilty. Okay, so technically speaking, if a charge is dropped, usually it's because the prosecutor doesn't think that they can win. And it's a waste of the public's money to continue doing it. But if they have political motivations, then it doesn't matter. They have to look like they want to, right? So that's what it was with Jimmy Snuka. You get a story out there. We're going to get it started. You have no more evidence today than you did when it actually occurred. No witnesses, no blood, nothing like that. But now what we got is a politically favorable society, and we might be able to get the decision we want if we play politics. And then that's what they were going to try, but then Jimmy Snuka ended up dying. So he died essentially innocent. He was never found guilty. He was never found not guilty. I think Vince is probably going to be the same damn thing. You know, unless they find some legit evidence. Nobody is ever going to believe that Vince was innocent of all the stuff that he was accused of. Look at how wrestling fans behave today. Vince has never stepped foot in court for any of these sexual assault allegations or anything. People believe he did it. He was never found guilty of that stuff. And then people still feel like he was guilty of the stuff he was found not guilty of. You know, the steroid trial, right? He beat the case. Oh, he was still guilty anyway. How could the government drop the ball on that? Oh, it's because everybody lied in court. Yada, yada. It's always some excuses. If you want to believe this guy is guilty, he's guilty. It doesn't matter what the court says. Because most people do not make their decisions based off of, well, the court said it, so therefore it must be true. Because we know R. Kelly beat the case too. He was on video, he beat the case. Does anybody still believe R. Kelly didn't do it? No. O.J. Simpson beat the case. You know, Casey Anthony beat the case. And there's plenty of people who are probably flagrantly fucking guilty. Beat the case. Nobody's going to just turn around and be like, you know what? You were found not guilty. That means you were innocent. Because those are two different things, right? And that's always going to be the case. Whenever you talk to people, they're going to say, well, he was found not guilty. That doesn't mean he was innocent. What the fuck? Not guilty means you didn't do it, you know, or we can't prove you did it. And if you can't prove somebody did it, then it's easy to say that they didn't do it. You know, so we're in a tough situation that this stuff is going to dangle over his head for the rest of his life. And that's the new rules. In a society that's fair at the very least. If you are found not guilty of something, that means you didn't do it because we can't prove you did it. And then we will let it go. It'll be over. But in reality, we know that sometimes people do a good job of covering up their crime. And therefore, that's not really a realistic scenario to be in. We know sometimes people are guilty and they beat the case. You know? But sometimes we know people are not guilty and they get found guilty. Or they plead guilty or something silly like that. But in the Vince situation, the wrestling fans who hate Vince McMahon, they don't care what happens. They revel in the idea that he's having spinal problems and that he's going to get indicted and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't matter to them whether he's guilty or not. They don't care because they already believe he's guilty. They're the kind of people who believe everything that's put out there by somebody. I say, look, we don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't there for none of these instances. And I don't know what's on them documents. And I don't know what kind of conversations were had. I know that a lot of that stuff sounds like extortion. Just like I talked about Hulk Hogan getting extorted, you know, by the guy who used to work for Bubba the Love Sponge. Nobody talks about that, though. Extortion is illegal. He should have gone to jail. But he got away with it, you know. It happens because we care more about Hulk Hogan using bad words than somebody out here extorting people. That's weird. But that's the nature of the beast. Hulk Hogan is famous, that other guy isn't. You know? And plus Hulk Hogan is a jerk. And he's a liar. So it is what it is. WG Phil. He says, I use Chat GPT to cast Vince. So far it's John Hamm, Hugh Jackman, Mark Wahlberg, Eric Bana, and Matthew McConaughey. I don't know how they got Matthew McConaughey. I don't know about that one. Mark Wahlberg, maybe for young Vince. Maybe. I could see Mark Wahlberg for a young Vince McMahon. Maybe. AJ3 says, even in death, people are still investigating, looking for dirt and evidence to prove you're guilty, and you're not allowed to defend yourself. Who does that? I don't know. But that's so bizarre that we continue to do that. It's like, ultimately, if somebody is dead, they can't defend themselves, they can't account for anything. And what's the saddest thing is that you can make documentaries and write books accusing people of stuff, and it's covered under the First Amendment, and it can be 100% false. It could be 100% bullshit. I'll tell you, Super Size Me, that movie, it was bullshit. You know, McDonald's is not going to sue this guy for lying, but he can legally get away with it. You know, so people can write books, do documentaries, and say so and so did this with no evidence or very little evidence or evidence that will be thrown out in a court of law because it was probably improperly handled. There's no way of proving chain of custody of certain evidence. Where did this stuff come from? How is it procured? Somebody told a story. Okay, is that person credible? Is that person under oath? Has that person been paid? There's a lot of different things that end up happening, in socially, that won't happen in a court of law with actual rules and the legal system and stuff like that. And that's just the nature of the beast, man. There's just no way to beat it. Wrestling fans hate the man that built their lives obsession. Well, of course they do. These people hate their fathers. They hate God. I don't take. I don't. I'm not surprised by the irrational hatred of anybody, knowing that there are people who hate their own parents, and sometimes for good reasons, sometimes not for such good reasons, and they have like deep animosity for God and people that they don't, and other people that they don't know. And I don't have that much hatred for people that I have a cartoonish level of hatred for, like Natalia or stuff like that. It's not serious. If Natalia was hurt or something like that, I still say get well soon. But I don't have a cartoonish level of hatred for anybody. I look at every human being is a yin and a yang. I hate to be so simplistic, but we all do things, good things. We all do bad things. Some people's bad things are worse. Some people's bad things are exaggerated. I'm reading a book right now on the history of the Detroit area. And the woman who wrote it is this, what is this, post-colonial studies kind of historian or whatever. I didn't know it when I bought the book. I'm sorry. I bought it from a book fair for $6. I thought it was interesting. I like knowing the history of my city. And it seems like she harps so much on slavery. It's just constant browbeating about how this person was a slave owner. And and she would even make assumptions in the book while stating that there's no evidence. She would say, well, we don't know what happened. We know that these slaves were probably sexually assaulted and yada, yada, yada. He was like, okay, how about you leave that stuff out unless you can prove it? Like, how about you don't say that? That's the kind of world we live in. We're relitigating the past with present, eyeballs, and it doesn't make much sense. Everybody's a man of their time. Everybody thought something that other people don't think. And think of how many people died, before we decided to create 100 genders or whatever. People are long dead. Didn't know the first fucking thing about gender. What is that? Don't know the first fucking thing about it. Long dead. Like, we have a constantly changing social climate, but we should have a fair legal system. What was wrong during the era of like Jim Crow laws and slavery was that the legal system was unfair. Now making it unfair in a different way still makes the legal system unfair. The purpose was to make it fair. I thought that was the idea, is that we actually judge people by what they may or may not have done, not based off of what their race is, what their gender is, whatever. But now we've just gone in the opposite direction. We see a guy, we look at him, we hear a story about him, and then we just say, well, it's got to be true. Based on what evidence? There is none. So it's a bizarre situation that we've got here. AJ3 says, quote, wrestling fans are pretty much the maggot spawned from the Independent Wrestling Committee, which is really a middle finger to not only Vince McMahon, but the WWE, the narrative they represent. But most of these people were wrestling fans. They were fans of WWE first. So most people's first wrestling show is going to be some kind of WWE show. Raw, SmackDown, a pay-per-view, or unless they came up in the South during the 80s, then maybe they saw Jim Crockett Promotions, TBS, or something like that first. But most folks who live in the Midwest and the East Coast and the West Coast too, and maybe even some other countries, your first show was WWF. And it's probably happened because of Vince McMahon. You know, you saw wrestling action figures and t-shirts and video games, it's probably WWF. So before they could become independent wrestling nerds, they were probably WWF fans. And then their fandom of WWF diminished, and then they went underground to the indie scene. You know, it's the same reason why, you know, a lot of people who are, you know, they're too elitist to read American comic books, which I, to be quite honest, don't want to read American comic books myself. They look down on Batman and Spider-Man and Superman, and they talk about how you should read manga. It's like, okay, well, I guarantee you some of these people read like American comic books first. You know, because culturally, that's what you would come across. You know, it's a little different. If you was in Japan, I could see why you might not be so big on like Superman or whatever. But if you're an American, chances are you got into this, you know, the anime and manga stuff through comic books or through comic book movies or something to that effect. And I've never been to a Yumacon or a Comic Con that didn't have both. You know, like that's the weird thing about being an indie darling or even being an anti-indie guy is a lot of the indie guys end up in WWE. I mean, they do. And a lot of times guys who leave WWE end up going on the indies. So really, what's the big difference? How are you such a big, I'm a super fan of the indies? Like, boy, you cheering for Zack Ryder. You just cheering for him under a different name. That's all. He's wearing a different outfit, but you cheering for Zack Ryder. You know, the promoter you love is giving big money to goddamn Matt Cardona. Come on, bro. He's shelling out big ducats to have, you know, Santino Morello on his show. Get real. You know, so it's all the same anyway. But some people, they find a comfort somewhere else, and I'm cool with that. But we just sitting back waiting to see what happened with Vince. We're just gonna have to sit back and wait. Everybody's gonna be, you have to get them a prayer circle and try to figure out what's going on. People still do it for Benoit. People still think he's innocent. Yeah, I mean, the Benoit thing is literally there is no other explanation. That's the same thing for Jimmy Snuka. You know, only reason I think Jimmy Snuka is guilty is because there's literally no other explanation. The only other explanation is that she suffered a head injury at some point and maybe had a seizure while she was asleep or something and died. But if she died from blunt force trauma to the head, face, or whatever, and it happened the night that she died, there's literally no other evidence. There's no evidence, but there's literally no other options. She was attacked by somebody, and the only person who knew she was there was Jimmy Snuka. It's like, goddamn. I can say he was found not guilty, and he wasn't found not guilty. He never went on trial. He lived his life for another 30 or 40 years. And we never figured out that he actually did anything wrong. You know, he was accused of something that was absolutely awful. For Chris Benoit, however, even though he was never found guilty of anything, literally there's no other evidence that anything else except what investigators said happened occurred. The crazy text messages, the fact that he was going to get on a flight to go somewhere else, it was just so much evidence that if they had gone to trial, he probably would have found guilty. WG Phil says, I type actors 40 to 50 years old. You got to be specific, else you end up with Tom Holland. Who the hell want that twink to play Vince McMahon? Yuck. John Cena is perfect for young Vince. He's looking like him now. You want to see John Cena do stand back? Stand back. That's sad. Marcus Green, what are you talking about, sir? Who the hell? Isn't Sue Young pregnant? Why would she come back to WWE? She's pregnant. Rich Swann, please, no. Please. Oh my God. Only if they make him shave his head or something. He just looks like he eat out of the garbage and I can't stand him. I can't, like, ugh. I've never been so disgusted by another brother. Stone Mexican guy says, I wonder how much people pay for Eugene. I don't know, man. But people do. And it's like, you think that people hate these stupid gimmicks, but they remember them. And then these guys go on the indies and they go back to the gimmick, like Matt Bourne. You know, Doink. Oh, Doink is so dumb. He's been doing Doink until the day he goddamn died. You know. Oh, he hated Doink. Well, why he keep doing it? You know, doing different variations of it. We're in a simulation here where people don't really get it. So it's very tough. But I'm hoping that either they prove Vince did something or they drop this issue pretty quickly. The guy is too old to have this stuff dangling over his head for the rest of his life. Nobody wants this crap. One of the dumbest gimmicks is Duke the Dumpster. My older brother remembers him and all my friends remember him. He was on MLW a couple weeks ago. He came out as Duke the Dumpster Rousey in MLW. And people say, oh, it's a stupid gimmick. Yeah, it was stupid. Why is he still doing it? That shit 30 years old, man. The guy, Tom Brady, is still wrestling at Salvatore Sincere. Sue Young had her baby 2 years ago. What? Oh my. Why she didn't come back to wrestling then? Oh, I guess because she got a baby. You can't tell me that they living off of one Impact salary in that household. I don't want to believe that. I don't believe at all that you're living off of one Impact salary in that house. you definitely gonna need two incomes if your husband works at Impact. Unless they're spending the whole budget on him, you definitely need two incomes. Yeah, Bastion Booger is like one of the worst. Him and like Mantar, it's like two of the worst gimmicks of all time. Why do people call Vince? Because that was how it was reported. It was reported like it was sexual assault, like people cannot consent. Like it was Bill Cosby, like people were passed out and woke up naked or something like that. But it was also because of Rita Chatterton. Rita Chatterton came out and said that she was raped by Vince McMahon in the limousine. Nobody saw it. Nobody was there. She didn't tell anybody. Oh, wait, she did tell somebody. But that guy took 30 years to say anything. So it was ridiculous, man. Who cares? It was probably more than 30 years ago. It was probably 40 years ago. It was 1986. So it was almost 40 years ago that this supposedly occurred. And then she didn't actually mention it until like 1996. Actually, it was 1992 when she mentioned it on television. And then tried to sue for money. And then she got countersued, and then it kind of dropped for a while. And Vince dropped the countersuit because he was going through the steroid trial at the time. And the Ring Boy scandal also happened around the same time. So it's a similar storm that's happening with Vince now, where Vince had neck surgery back then while he was under investigation for steroids. Now he's under investigation for which essentially is embezzlement, and he needs to have spinal surgery, and he's trying to sell his company. And I no doubt, I believe that he's trying to sell his company because the people within the company tried to fuck him out of it. I think if Vince would have never gotten busted with the NDAs and all this kind of stuff, he'd have gladly left it to Stephanie. But I think since they tried to force him out and all that kind of stuff, he said, fuck it, we don't need We about to do something else. I'm about to do one more power play. I'm gonna sell it to some strangers. I bet Stephanie wishes her. I bet she wished Vince died, man. Because if Vince would have died in like 2020 or something, 2021, people still would have thought he was a scumbag, but they wouldn't think he's a scumbag to this degree. And he wouldn't be able to sell the company to fucking Endeavor at this point. You know, I think the Endeavor deal was probably going to end up happening anyway because of Nick Khan. But it is what it is. All right, let's do SummerSlam predictions because there is not that much left to talk about when it comes to Vince McMahon. I'm going to go through the matches, and then we're going to go through what you guys thought and what I think. All right, let's go to the very beginning. Number 8, the Slim Jim SummerSlam Battle Royale. It is a 20-man Battle Royale. It says the confirmed participants: LA Knight, Sheamus, Tommaso Ciampa, Shinsuke Nakamura, Otis, and Chad Gable. So there's probably going to definitely be more. I think most of us believe that LA Knight is going to win this match. 88% of you all who voted for LA Knight to win. I think we did this with Money in the Bank, and we all ended up proving wrong, right? We all almost unanimously picked LA Knight and ended up wrong. So now there's tons of articles out there about how, Vince McMahon doesn't see LA Knight as a top star. They think it's going to be he's a flash in the pan. All this gossip about LA Knight. He's not good with backstage politics. He rubs people the wrong way, yada, yada, yada. Look, we don't know, okay? I do know this, and this is apparently a fact because a press release came out, that we can't get mad at Slim Jim's Battle Royal because Slim Jim is now like the ultimate WWE partner, and it's going to stretch from SummerSlam to like WrestleMania. So they're paying for their spot on the card. So they're paying a hefty price for their spot on the card. So at least I understand why they're there. Okay. But the winner gets nothing. I don't see why we care. So I'm just gonna go with LA Knight. I mean, who gives a crap, really? We're stuck with this. This thing just it won't go away. Yeah, Slim Jim trumps out Becky and Trish because Slim Jim is willing to pay for it. They're willing to pay. Stone Mexican guy says, I only eat Slim Jims because of Macho Man. They still put Macho Man on the savage side Slim Jim. I don't eat Slim Jims because they're pork. Beef jerky, though, not too bad. I have like little kicks where I do stuff like I don't normally eat beef jerky. I don't necessarily like it. It looks like dog food to me, even though it's just dried meat. And also it gets stuck in my teeth and I can't stand it. But like it was a short amount of time where I was on a beef jerky kick. I was like beef jerky at least once a day. But I never got a Slim Jim because Slim Jim always got pork in it. I can't stand it. Speaking of which, Bam Bam Bigelow did Slim Jim commercials, and Diesel did Slim Jim commercials. When Macho Man left, neither one of them was Macho Man. Macho Man was tremendous. A little excitement. Snap it to a Slim Jim. Oh, yeah. He was so good. Match number 7. Or, I'm sorry, the next match. MMA Rules, Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler. Oh, boy. Ronda Rousey. So, 89% of you guys believed that Shayna Baszler will win this match. It's not going to be a shoot match. I don't understand why people are talking about it like it's going to be a shoot. This is not going to be a shoot fight. So it's going to be a work. And since I think most of us believe that Ronda Rousey is leaving, that's why we picking Shayna Baszler, as this is going to be the launch of Shayna Baszler to the main event as a credible contender against Rhea Ripley, as she completely destroys and annihilates Ronda Rousey. And okay, that's fine. I know we've been waiting for a while, what, 3 or 4 years now, for Shayna Baszler's push to get started. And Triple H loves him some Shayna Baszler. I'm not sure if she's the right one to go with in this situation, but we're going with it. And Ronda Rousey wants to put over her friend on her way out. I'm okay with this. AJ3 says, if Shayna wins, is she going babyface or stay a heel? I would guess she would be a babyface because Rhea Ripley is a heel. And I would guess that would be the next program, right? That if Shayna Baszler defeats Ronda Rousey in an MMA fight and retires Ronda Rousey, or Ronda Rousey goes away for a long time, I would imagine Shayna Baszler's next match or her next feud to be with Rhea Ripley. Who else would it be with? This is the height. This is what you're waiting for when it comes to Shayna Baszler. You're not going to get a bigger launch than this, if we're being honest. Next match, Gunther versus Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental Championship. Let's see. You guys picked 85% of you picked Gunther, and I think that is a safe choice. I'm also going to go with Gunther. They want Gunther to pass Honky Tonk Man to be the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. I think he's got like 30 more days or something like that before he passes him. My thing now is he's been champion for so long. Who do you have beat him? If Drew can't beat him, who's going to beat him? You look at the Raw roster. Johnny Gargano, no. Ciampa, no. Rollins and Finn Balor, they're off doing something else. Do you call up somebody from NXT to beat him? I don't know. But you look at the Raw roster, you really don't have that many people, but you would think that you would have somebody bubbling under the surface that, once they get the big match with Gunther, they could win it and become the Intercontinental Champion. Similar to how Ultimate Warrior was, under the surface bubbling while Honky Tonk Man was the champion. And, make that big switch and set up a new star. They haven't done that, though, because I guess Triple H does not understand that kind of booking style. Bronson Reed, he's a heel, so why would he be the one? I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. Now, I'm going to go with Gunther because I'm pretty sure they want Honky Tonk Man's record beat, and Gunther is believable in the role. And plus, it won't be much longer now. I think it's like another month or two before he surpasses the Honky Tonk Man. So I'm gonna go with Gunther. My question is, where does he go after Drew McIntyre? That's gonna be my next thing. Like, where do you go after? Because when you have a dominant champion and you have no contender waiting in the wings to take the title from them, you're essentially gonna create a big pop where somebody beats Gunther and then they're gonna fall off the card because they're not gonna have enough oomph underneath them to carry them forward. You put all the emphasis on Gunther right now. At least with Roman, you still got Cody bubbling underneath. You had Rollins, you had Jey Uso, you had Sami Zayn, you had somebody to sustain that push. But now you don't really have much of anything with the Intercontinental title, and the U.S. title is basically dead. AJ3 says, Triple H is desperately trying to erase Honky Tonk Man's title reign with the Intercontinental title, but if Drew wins, I guess that's F.U. Paul. I don't think so. Marcus Green says, maybe Triple H can hire Leva Bates and Taylor Wilde and Chris Sabin. Why the hell would he want all of these people? What the fuck is it about these? WWE had ample opportunity to sign like Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. Why would he want them? Taylor Wilde, Blue Pants maybe for NXT because she'd probably be a nice little throwback for the NXT audience. But why would he want these people? I know Triple H is a fan of the work rate, but I don't think he's a complete and total moron. All right, Ricochet versus Logan Paul. I forgot to put this match on the on the board. Uh, Logan Paul has to beat somebody, right? So I'm looking at it saying to myself, man, Logan Paul's got to win a match at some point, doesn't he? Ricochet is a beatable opponent, especially if you team him up with somebody else. If you team up Logan Paul with somebody else, he can get over on Ricochet and it won't kill him. It won't kill Ricochet. So I'm gonna go with Logan Paul. What do you guys think? Since we're gonna do this one for the live crowd, for the live audience. What do we think Logan Paul is gonna beat Ricochet? Because I do. I don't see Logan Paul's got to beat somebody. I think the only person he's beaten so far is The Miz. So he's got to beat somebody for Christ's sake. Ben Gideon says beating Rico will get him heat from the market. Yeah, which is what you want. Which is what you want. Now, unless Ricochet is going to be the guy that's going to beat Gunther, maybe that could be the case. Maybe we're going to have Ricochet beat Logan Paul and then challenge Gunther. And then he's going to be the guy that's going to take the title from Gunther. I don't like that idea. I don't like the idea of Ricochet losing to Logan Paul but still wrestling Gunther and winning the title. That's stupid. If he beats Logan Paul, then I think that sets up him beating Gunther. But didn't Gunther win the title from Logan? Who did Gunther beat for the Intercontinental title? It was Ricochet, right? I don't know if we put the belt back on Ricochet like that though. Triple H does like Ricochet. He does like him. My thing is, I think they want to put a title on Logan Paul too. So I don't know. I would put to have Logan Paul wrestle for the tag team titles or something. That's kind of where you should go with him next. I don't. But if Logan Paul has to beat somebody, Ricochet is the guy. So I'm gonna go with Logan Paul. I don't know what the trajectory is for Ricochet. Do you try to work main events with Ricochet? Do you try to have Ricochet versus the world champion? Assuming the world champion is Seth Rollins, then yeah, I think that you could probably have some really good matches there, but they'll feel like Intercontinental title matches. If it's Finn Balor, that definitely could work because Balor is even smaller than Rollins, but that still would feel like an Intercontinental Championship match. If it's Damian Priest, then that's a squash match because they're not going to have Ricochet beat him. So I don't know. Personally, I would go with Logan Paul over Ricochet. That's just me personally. Next, triple threat match for the WWE Women's Championship: Asuka versus Charlotte Flair versus Bianca Belair. Let's see here. You guys made the decision for Asuka, 68% for Asuka, 26% for Charlotte, 6% for Bianca. Y'all are underestimating the EST. I get it though. She's the odd person out in this match. I think Asuka's going to win. I do. And then I think Io is going to cash in. That's what I think is going to happen. They've been teasing it for a while now. I think Bianca and Charlotte end up kind of taking each other out, and then Asuka is in the ring. Io cashes in her money in the bank, and maybe it's a situation where, much like Seth Rollins, she cashes in the middle of the match while somebody is down and wins the title that way. But I think if the match is kept as a triple threat, I'm going to go with Asuka. But I definitely think Io is cashing in because I think they've teased it way too many times, and I think it's time for that. Maybe they could do something sneaky and have Io, cash in on Rhea Ripley, but Rhea Ripley doesn't have a match, and she wouldn't face any damage during the show unless she got, knocked down by Seth Rollins or something like that, and then Io cashed in. But I wouldn't do that either. So I would probably go with Asuka getting cashed in on by Io Shirai. But I definitely think if the match actually happens, it's going to end up being with Asuka winning. But I think we're looking at a Money in the Bank cash in here. That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking Money in the Bank cash in. Bennett X100 agrees with me. Yeah, Bailey's going to be there to help. She could help beat down one of the opponents. I mean, triple threat match is no disqualification. So you could have Bailey interfere. She could X out Charlotte or, X out Bianca or something like that. And then EO could attack one of the weaker people, pin them with a moonsault, and then walk out with the title, which I'm thinking is probably the best option of the options we got here. AJ3 says, fingers crossed for a possible Money in the Bank cash in at SummerSlam. I predict EO Sky to cash in after the triple threat match to win. Plus, it's also the 1 year anniversary of Damage Control's debut. I didn't think about that. It is the 1 year anniversary of Damage Control. Damage Control has been so bad. They've been bad the entire year. They've been terrible all year. But Triple H loves them. He loves EO. I like EO. I think EO is fresh. She's fresh. We've been there with Bianca as much as I love Bianca. Bianca was champion for a year. We've been there. Charlotte, we've always been there. Did you see I think it was Natalia that said that Charlotte's character could use some vulnerabilities. And I think that's what Ric Flair was good for. And that's what I liked about the story with Lacey Evans that they was doing before Lacey Evans got pregnant. It was showcasing Charlotte in a different way. It was taking a cheap shot at one of her weaknesses, that her dad is sort of a playboy who, runs around with many different women, some of them half his age, and how he could possibly be laying up with one of her peers. And I think that was an interesting storyline. Too bad that people got upset about it and decided they were going to get offended on Lacey's behalf, even though she seemed to be having fun with it. I know other people seem to get really uncomfortable, but that was supposed to be the fun of it, was that it did make people uncomfortable. It was interesting. They did nothing with Bianca's title. That is absolutely true. Triple H, I don't think, is a big fan of Bianca. If we're looking at things, if we're being honest, I don't think he's a big fan. I definitely think they should avoid doing Bianca and Charlotte before WrestleMania. I definitely think they should move it towards WrestleMania in a big match between the two of them. Shotzi could come out of scaring EO and Bailey. Yes. I definitely think we probably will get the Shotzi reveal here. Or we could save it for SmackDown and have Shotzi reveal herself as a top contender for EO when EO was the champion. After she goes through Bailey, of course. Which I think is probably a better way of doing it. So I still would do the Money in the Bank cash in the Fatal 4-Way format and have EO pin Asuka, Bianca and Charlotte. They X each other out. Bailey gets involved with that and helps. And then maybe we do some more Shotzi teasing, and then we have Shotzi do the big reveal on SmackDown instead of at SummerSlam. Because you have to save something. I think a big pop for the title change and a new champion, you don't want to step on that by, then dumping out somebody else. So I'm gonna go with EO to win the title, but I certainly picked Asuka if we're being legit. As a straight up match. World Heavyweight Championship, Seth freaking Rollins versus Finn Balor. Let's see, you guys have gone 50-50 with 46 votes. 50-50. Finn Balor and Seth Rollins. I think this is good. You guys are unsure. Some people it could go either way. I see that this is not a main event match. Something tells me this match goes on 4th or something like that. And it probably ends with Balor just losing. Now, of course, we do have another Money in the Bank implication here. That perhaps Seth Rollins defeats Finn Balor. And then after the match, Damian Priest cashes in his Money in the Bank briefcase. and that pisses off Finn Balor, and that causes a split. Or you could have Damian Priest cash in on Finn Balor after he won the title and causes a split in Judgment Day. My guess is that they want to do a split in which Damian Priest, it would be better for him to betray Finn Balor. It would definitely be better for him to do that. But something tells me that with Damian Priest, they want to go babyface with him. And I'm not sure why. But something tells me they're probably going to want to have Finn Balor be the heel in this scenario. And him being obsessed with the title and being jealous. And if he wins the Money in the Bank, and if Damian Priest wins the Money in the title for Money in the Bank, he'll have some reason to be jealous. You know, it's definitely a tough call. This match is a tough one. You know, this is a tough one. It's tough because storylines suggest that Finn Balor should win. You know, that as a heel, in order to maintain his relevance at the top of the card, he should win. At the same time, though, the heel gets what he wants and gets fucked is a better story. It's almost a twisted metal ending. You get everything you want, but it doesn't work out. And it's a typical WWE thing that the small guy does all the work. The big guy does little to nothing, gets the title, and runs around with it. You know? The question would be, of course, who comes out the babyface on that thing? If Damian Priest cashes in the Money in the Bank, pins Finn Balor, he's going to get a huge pop. But the question is going to be the next night on Raw, who's the babyface? You know? So, I don't know. But I think when it comes to the match, I definitely think Seth Rollins is going to win. So I'm going to go with Seth Rollins defeats Finn Balor, and then maybe immediately after that match, Damian Priest cashes in his Money in the Bank briefcase, or he tries to, and Finn Balor fucks him out of it. That's what I'm going to go with. I think that's probably the best option. So I definitely going to go with Finn winning. Seth winning. Bennett X100 says, I think Finn kind of just wants to get the title off Seth because the story is that he just wants to ruin Seth's title run. But he doesn't want Damian Priest to have it. We've seen that for the last couple of weeks when Damian Priest wanted him to give up the Money in the Bank briefcase. He took his sweet time doing it. I think he wants it to be him. It needs to be him. He needs to be the one to do it. And I think that's reason enough that if you do the story in a way that Damian Priest takes the title off of Seth Rollins, that it continues Finn Balor's heel turn, and it probably turns Damian Priest babyface, and he would probably get kicked out of Judgment Day at that point, wouldn't he? I don't know, because the rest of them are babyface. The rest of them are heels. So why would Damian Priest be in it? And then whose side would Dominic and Rhea take? I don't know. TN Pyro says he doesn't see Priest as a world champion yet. Well, I don't either, considering he just got beat on his Raw, like, what was it, last week or this week, one or the other. I don't think he's ready for the crown either yet, But this is the position we find ourselves in. That briefcase is going to end up being the reason why Damage Control, Judgment Day breaks up. And do you really put Damian Priest in a situation where he cashes in the Money in the Bank and doesn't win? Oh boy. He's going to look like shit if he doesn't win. Woo-wee. Yeah, Dom and Rhea could definitely survive on their own. We don't necessarily need Judgment Day for Dominic and Rhea. They're a solid enough group by themselves. They already teased JD McDonough and Finn Balor. And they've had Damian Priest doing the whole Spanish guy stuff. So I'm thinking Damian Priest as a babyface, Finn Balor as a heel with JD McDonough. Um, and Dominic and Rhea go their own way, you know. But this is going to be a. But why would this is a problem with the big money in the bank thing, because why would we cheer for Damian Priest to steal the title from Seth Rollins, only for Finn Balor to turn heel on him, beat him up for taking the title from him, and then we cheer Damian Priest? I don't see anybody getting over in that scenario. So I'm gonna go with Seth Rollins just wins and ruins Finn Balor's life. If Finn Balor was to win, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be mad either. I think the story dictates that he should win. In order to keep the story going, I think he should win. But then that would end up meaning that there would be another match between the two. What's the next pay per view? Is it a Saudi show, or is it? Um, I don't know what the next event is. What's the next event? Let me take a look. Oh, it's Payback. Okay, so oh my God, Payback. Finn just helps Priest win it. That's what Bennett X100 says. Just to take it away from Seth. Truly villainous by Finn Balor. He doesn't care. If it can't be me, it should be Damian. But something is telling me that he wants it to be himself, and that he would be obsessed if it wasn't him. Kind of like, the Joker doesn't want anybody to know who Batman is because it ruins everything. He doesn't want anybody to kill Batman because it ruins the fun for him. It kind of has to be a similar thing with Finn Balor, where he hates Seth Rollins so much that it has to be him to be the one to hurt and to take away from Seth Rollins. But it's believable that his hatred would extend to the point where even if I can't do it, I would be okay with my buddy doing it. I don't know. Christopher Lloyd says, I understand they're doing their own thing business wise, but who's going to be watching at a distance, buddy? I'm pretty sure Buddy's going to be watching his girlfriend get stretched. Oh boy, especially if you get that tattoo. Oh baby. All right. Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. Oh, this one's a tough call too. They're 1-1. 88% of the people have chosen Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes. 88% people are betting against Brock Lesnar to that degree. Oh my. It's a solid enough position that Cody would defeat Brock. I don't think it's that far off. They definitely should have a stipulation, but they don't have one. And they're going to apparently continue doing this match without the stipulation. In my opinion, ain't too many people should be able to beat Brock Lesnar in a singles match head up. The way Cody defeated Brock the first time was kind of fluky. It wasn't definitive in any real way. Brock did defeat Cody, but he did it in a kind of fluky way. Cody fell asleep in the match. I think Cody has to win it. To keep his momentum, he's got to win. So I'm gonna go with Cody. I think Cody wins, but I think this match I think Bennett is right. This match isn't going to be nothing but a brawl. And I think it probably needs to be no DQ or no holds barred or something like that. Maybe they started out as a regular match and then Brock hits him with a chair and a disqualification and restarted as no holds barred. Or just announce it as no holds barred. One of the two. Maybe do it bunkhouse stampede match. Brock's a cowboy. He can wear cowboy boots and jeans, and Cody can wear boots and jeans, and they can have themselves a bunkhouse match, with bales of hay and cowbells and stuff, in honor of Dusty Rhodes. But I think we're kind of late on that one. You can't introduce that stuff in 2 days. So I'm going to go with Cody winning, defeating Brock Lesnar. I would love to be able to sink my teeth into this storyline and say, hey, this is what the story unfolds. Ben getting in says the NWA vibe. They're a random bull rope match. Bull rope match between two people you don't even want to see wrestle. Ugh. All right, the main event of the evening. The undisputed Universal WWE Championship and the Tribal Chief. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. 92% of the people think Roman Reigns is going to win. I think that is correct. Jey Uso is a tag team wrestler. He should main event this show. This should be the main event of the evening. But I definitely think Jey Uso is going to put up a hell of a fight. And Roman's still going to win. Maybe he's going to have some, probably, will it be like a Solo Sikoa run in? I don't know. Maybe Roman does this one on his own. But this is the match I'm most looking forward to. And I'm going to be in the building, so I'm definitely going to be hot for this. I may even get me a Bloodline shirt because I don't have any wrestling shirts. I probably would wear it only for that show. And then, put it behind glass or something like that afterwards. It's a tribal contest fight. You can't end it in no contest. Somebody has to win. So it seems kind of it's an interesting main event considering everybody knows that Jey can't win. Everybody knows Jey can't win. So how do you get out of this situation without killing Jey? That's going to be the question. Jey can't win the title, just like Sammy couldn't win the title, just like Drew couldn't win the title. You have to create a way in which Jey can maintain being over without winning this title. And AJ3 suggests that Jimmy Uso turns heel by beating up Jey. Oh, man. Oh, boy. So you would have Jimmy go all about he's nobody's bitch, only for him to turn and join Roman? Or that Jimmy would go his own way and not partner with Roman, but also not be a member of the Usos? I mean, who the hell wants to see the Usos fight? I mean, I don't know if it ain't quite the Rockers. Who the hell wants to watch the Usos fight? Who wants to see two people who look exactly the same have a match? I don't know, man. I think we're probably more likely to see something similar to their I Quit match where Jimmy maybe throws in a towel or something for Jey as a way of Jey fights to the end or something like that. I believe that's more of a believable finish. I do not want Jimmy turning. I don't want that. You have to create some kind of way for the storyline to continue, but you can't have Jey lose clean. If Jey loses clean, it's over. Well, then technically they'll be 1-1 because Jey won the Bloodline Civil War, and then Roman. Well, we wouldn't be 1-1 because Roman beat them twice 2 or 3 years ago. They'd be 2-1. The one thing that would probably blow the roof off the building, if we're being honest, is if Jey Uso won the title. That would destroy Ford Field. I'm telling you. I wouldn't know what to do with myself if Jey Uso won the title. And I was there for it. I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't know what to do. So I'm sitting here saying to myself, if you just want a memory that anybody can believe, that for that last a lifetime, Jey Uso winning the title, becoming the tribal chief, is probably the best. But then there's Friday, and what do you do if Jay is the champion. You instantly use Money in the Bank, right? Like you instantly have Damian Priest take it from him, right? That's the best option, right? He can't be the world champion. So you might be able to get Jay to get the pinfall, and then before the confetti even hits the ground fully, here comes Damian Priest. But I wouldn't do either one of those options. You stick with the plan. Go with Roman. I think you probably do Solo and Jay from this point forward. And the only reason you would do that is if same old, and that Solo Samoan spikes on Jay and leaves them laying, and Roman wins. He get booed out of the building. It'd be a predictable ass finish, but it would be a way for Jay to lose, have a complaint, still be able to come out and say that he had Roman's number. He could beat Roman, and he would have beaten Roman if not for his damn brother. If not for Solo, he would be the world champion. So there's very, very, very little you can do. If Jay wins, so the Cody saga is over. And that's another thing. I forgot all about that. If Jay wins, he finished the story. The story is finished. I don't think they'll put the title on Jey Uso. I genuinely don't think they'll put the title on Jey Uso. So Roman's going to win. We all know that. We all just trying to figure out how. How do we get there? How do we get to Roman winning and keeping Jey strong? I don't know. But it's a good question. All right. Other questions that you guys asked. It says, will there be a big return or debut? You said 73% of you said yes. And people have said Randy Orton is coming back. Vegeta Lover 9297 says New Day, your favorite group. Rachel Buck says Bobby Roode. I've seen that Bobby Roode is going to be in Detroit. I don't think he's going to be wrestling. I don't see him wrestling. He could probably be there. He's probably well enough to travel. But I don't see why he would be wrestling on this show, or why he would be a surprise return on this show. He was barely utilized when he was on the show as it is. I know Triple H is in control now. Things are different now. But I just don't see it. I don't see it changing that much. Not right now, This guy's coming fresh off a severe neck problem. What can you do with him right now? I don't know. I don't have the answer to that question. But I think people saying Randy Orton, that's a good choice. Maybe after the Brock match, Randy Orton makes an appearance to see Cody, hits him with an RKO. But I would prefer to save Cody and Randy for a WrestleMania match, because Randy doesn't have a lot of matches left. So I would leave that as a WrestleMania feud, personally. So you have to find somebody else. I don't know. Having Randy and Cody feud over the fall. I don't know. Maybe having them as tag team partners for a little while, as buddies, and then Randy turn heel on them. That could work. But we're still talking about how about this? How about Randy is in Cody's corner when he wrestles for the title to negate Solo being in Roman's corner? How about that? I don't know. TN Pyro says that he heard that Nick Aldis will be producing that Slim Jim Battle Royal. He getting the big bucks. Getting the big money. Gonna drive me big car. Look. trying to have big fun. I think there will be a surprise return, or I'm gonna go with Mandy Rose though. I'm gonna go with Mandy Rose. I think Mandy Rose is going to come back at SummerSlam. Nobody's talking about it. Um, it's just random. I think the more random, the better. I think they want to add some more depth to the women's division because if you have to have a big return, if it's a man, you still have the same problems you had before. Cody is the clear-cut top guy from this point forward. So either they're going to feud with Cody throughout the fall, or they're going to come in on SmackDown and do what? Who knows? But what about Edge? Can somebody like Edge return? Well, I guess the option could be if you bring somebody back, they can wrestle Gunther, right? Gunther defeats Drew McIntyre, and then Edge confronts him or something like that. JG says Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt. I don't know about that. I don't know about Bray Wyatt. Would people really be excited for Bray Wyatt? I don't know. I probably would be though. Can Mandy work on the main roster without Toxic Attraction? Yes. Toxic Attraction was 99% Mandy Rose anyway. It was basically her gimmick. The other two were basically just kind of like her lackeys. I'm not saying you could just put anybody in that spot. JC Jane and Gigi Dolan were very good. But I'm looking at things and saying to myself, you could do that thing perfectly fine with just Mandy. Just Mandy by herself. Yeah, you can do that just fine. She's definitely needed on SmackDown, if we're being honest. The SmackDown women's division needs a fresh coat of paint, like really bad. The Lashley faction. Well, would it be a debut, and what would they do? You could say that for SmackDown, if we're being honest, because it's like, at what point could he appear? Most of the singles matches are Raw matches. So, and which SmackDown match would he appear in front of? There wouldn't be any reason for him to appear. I've seen a lot of people talk about Carlito. This was a couple of weeks ago. People saying that Carlito was going to come in, and they were waiting to put him on the card somewhere. Maybe in the Battle Royal, Carlito shows up, and I think that's also a good place for a return or a debut. Is the Battle Royal? Maybe that's it. Maybe we have Nick Aldis appear in the Slim Jim 20-man Battle Royal, and he wins it, or he's in their last with LA Knight. Or maybe Carlito shows up and he's in the Slim Jim Battle Royal. I don't know. Is Rey Mysterio going to be in that damn Battle Royal? I hope not. I really hope not. I would think Rey, greatest luchador of all time, would be doing something else. Is Dominic going to be in that Battle Royal? I don't know. If Dominic is in it, why put him in if he's not going to win? That would be my thing. It would be the same thing with whoever would debut. If it was a Nick Aldis or Carlito or somebody like that, why put them in if they're not going to win? I do believe we're probably going to have, a surprise promo segment. Some people are thinking The Rock. I don't ever think a guy like The Rock is going to show up. It's back when people used to say, oh, every week, oh, Brock's coming back. Then he finally came back. I was kind of like over talking about it. And that's kind of how I am with The Rock. Like, I'm over talking about The Rock, man. I'm done with it. He comes back when he comes back, or if he doesn't come back, he doesn't come back. I don't care. We keep saying, oh, it makes sense for The Rock to show back up. They're supporting him for Survivor Series. He doesn't come back. Oh, it makes sense for The Rock to show back up because, Roman Reigns calling himself the tribal chief of the family, blah, 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 blah. And The Rock doesn't show back up. So I'm just basically at this point like, you know what? He shows up when he shows up. He doesn't. Who cares? I'm not going to keep saying or asking or begging or tweeting or even talking about it or giving it too much oxygen. The Rock does what he does. I like the Lashley faction too. I love the idea. Um, the question I want to have is, what are they going to do? You know, like that's the next step. What are they going to do? Like, what's the trajectory for them? You put the Street Profits back in the tag team division. They've been in the tag team division for 5 years already. You know, well, 6 or no. When they come in, in 2018, 2019 or something like that. So they've been in the tag team division for a long time now. They were in NXT for a little while. And that's nothing new with them. Lashley is not going, unless he's wrestling Roman or he's wrestling fucking Austin Theory again. Shrug, you know. Do you have the Lashley faction pick a fight with the Brawling Brutes? You know, which they could do that on SmackDown. You know, Sheamus wins the U.S. title or something. Not Sheamus. Santos Escobar. Maybe Lashley's going to be in the big battle royal. Who knows? There's a lot that could possibly happen. Omos is beating Johnny Gargano on house shows. So Johnny Gargano, no doubt, is probably going to be in that battle royal too. So I'm going to go with Mandy Rose because to me, that seems like it'll be a surprise that may get people's spurs jingling and jangling. I know it's easy to look at like free agents and potential call ups and all this kind of stuff, but I don't know. I think we should go with safe. Safe is women's division, needs some help. They need more faces in the women's division. They need fresh faces. They need somebody who can do something different. And I think Mandy brings that to the table. You know, and I don't see why they wouldn't bring her back. Unless you're going to call somebody up. You can always do a call up, you know, I guess. Yes, I did see Sheamus's moments about his comment about that. And I was going to bring that up, actually, because he's absolutely correct. You know, they had the rematch between Sheamus and Gunther. They just had Sheamus lose again, and then that was it. It seemed to me like they were on the trajectory of Sheamus winning the title, and they did not want Sheamus to come to win the title, so they switched brands. So they got Gunther off of the brand so that he wouldn't wrestle Sheamus again, and therefore wouldn't have to put Sheamus over. So they moved him off the brand. So I'm guessing they're going to end up working their way back to that. Because it's entirely possible that Sheamus is the guy who beats Gunther for the Intercontinental title. You know, to finally fulfill his dream of being a guy who's won every every championship possible, including King of the Ring, which there's a lot of people who don't have King of the Ring trophies. What segment does Mandy come back? I think you could probably do an in-ring segment, a promo style segment where she comes back. You know, similar to John Cena, but not in the exact same way because she's not John Cena. But something similar where somebody's in the ring talking and then she pops up. But I would do it in a slicker way than just have her pop up and commit herself to SmackDown. Just have her say she's back, but she's a free agent. She's going to be on both Raw and SmackDown, and then do it like the Raw staff is trying to get her to come to Raw. The SmackDown staff trying to get her to come to SmackDown, and you could do that for a little while you clear up your title pictures. I definitely wouldn't have her wrestle Rhea because I would keep her as a heel, and then I probably would put her on SmackDown. But I do believe they're not going to do match after match after match after match. They're going to have segments. They're going to have promos. There's going to be things happening. And because I believe that there's going to be segments, promos, and things happening, those are going to be openings for like Grayson Waller to make an appearance or something like that. So I just hope it's nothing too stupid on the show. I already know they got Kid Rock on there, so they already starting out bad. But we'll see how it goes after that. All right, y'all. Y'all got anything else? Cause I'm outie. So anything else for you guys? Nope. All right. Thank you all for your time. Talk to you guys later, man. Peace out.